Hello, and welcome to another episode of Be a Leader podcast, where we talk about current events in sports, military, and business through the lens of leadership. And it is FIFA time, World Soccer. It's going crazy here in North America and all around the world. It's very fun to see players represent their countries and going at it. And we just finished the group stage, going to the knockout. But the question is, what can we learn from the group stage? Everything that's been going on so far. So we're going to go through 5 lessons that we can apply to ourselves as we lead ourselves, lead others, and lead leaders and build our confidence under pressure. And so the first thing I think about when I look at FIFA soccer so far in the group stage is that it's not over till it's over. Okay, let's just look at stoppage time. So stoppage time is when regulation ends and they add a few minutes in there at the very end to make up for injuries, people flopping all the time, looking at videos or celebration of scores. So they add this extra time at the end. 30% of all the scoring that has happened in FIFA so far has come in the last 15 minutes. Okay, we're talking about minute 76 plus. So the very end of regulation, including stoppage time. 30% of all goals is incredible. This is the first time that's been this big in FIFA history. And more than half of them were either ties or going for the win. And this is a big deal. Again, 30% at the end of the game. People are tired. People will think they got the game done. A good example here is USA and Turkey. And it was a tied game going to the very end. But Turkey scored at the 98th minute. It was 90 minutes plus 8 more minutes. And the 98th minute, Turkey won that game. It was a big deal. Algeria and Austria, both teams scored at the very end in stoppage time. That's the first time it's ever happened with FIFA. So here's the thing: pressure is highest at the end. Okay, when you think it's almost over, that's when the pressure is really there because you start to, in the saying in the Marine Corps, you want to drop your pack. If you're going on a 15-mile hike, the hardest mile, it's not the first mile, and it's not in the middle. It's the last mile. Because you can see where you're going to end. You can see where you can drop the pack, and then everything feels heavier. Your shoulders hurt more. Your hips hurt more. Your feet have been dying and screaming for 14 miles, and you just can't wait to drop the pack. The last mile is the worst mile. And in deployments, most accidents seem to happen at the very end. When you're 2 weeks away from getting back from deployment, that's where a lot of these self-inflicting accidents happen. It's at the very end, and execution is so important to finish off. Okay, in my opinion, Team USA made some mistakes. They shouldn't have subbed everyone. They shouldn't have made the game into not that big deal because we already won that group stage. And they dropped their guard and they ended up losing. I think it was a coaching leadership mistake by far. That's the way I see it. Okay, I'm not in there just to I don't know. It was like playing not to lose versus going for the win and making sure everyone gets reps at their highest level because guess what? They're not going to take an off game again. Okay, go in there, play hard. Turkey stayed disciplined all the way to the end, and they won in the 98th minute of the game. Good for them. Okay, so it's not about the stakes; it's about being disciplined through the entire time, and that is a leadership challenge. That's when the pressure is there, and you've got to have that discipline to help you with that confidence under pressure. Let's go on to the second big thing that I think about with the group stages. When I think about FIFA soccer in the group stages, I think about how identity is greater than resources. And you already know who I'm going to be talking about. That's Cape Verde. Man, talk about them. There are 530,000 people roughly in their country. Okay, that's smaller than Fresno, California. It is the smallest nation by population to ever compete in FIFA. And they had 26 players in 26 different clubs in 14 different countries. So they are very fragmented. They were all over the place, and most of them not even playing at a high tier level. Most of them were mid tier, low tier. And their goalkeeper was a 40-year-old free agent. Yeah, he wasn't even at the prime. They're literally bringing in this band of brothers to play. They're scattered all over the place, small little country, and here they go, and they play 3 games. They don't win any of them, but they don't lose any of them either. Okay, with Spain, they tied 0-0, which is a big surprise. Uruguay, 2-2. And Saudi Arabia was 0-0. Again, held on late pressure. And that allowed them to get into the knockout stage. It is an unbelievable story. And it goes back to this: identity is greater than resources. They know they didn't have much of resources compared to everyone else. They don't have much. I mean, Dallas, where I live, is way bigger. And the whole DFW way bigger than their country. Okay, but they knew who they were, and there was a great quote from the midfielder Duarte. He said, "We love our country." We have a lot of passion about our country. Our parents and grandparents sacrificed a lot for them, and we wanted to display the resilience of our people. That was our goal. Show the resilience of who we are. And that's exactly what they did. Not and getting to the point where they can go out to the knockout stages. It is unbelievable. When you know who you are, okay, you can execute with clarity. I go back to my time in the Marine Corps. We have the least resources in terms of budget and manpower out of all the branches. The Army has everything. Massive, has a big budget, has a lot of gear. We get all their stuff from them, most of the time, secondhand from them. But the power of the Marine Corps isn't our resources, it is our identity. That's why we have the Eagle Globe and Anchor of the Marine Corps on our forehead, not our rank. It is our identity. It's not about our gear. It's just a different type of mission. We have to build that type of culture in the Marine Corps to be able to do what we do with what we have. It starts with identity. Identity is greater than resources. Let's go on to the third lesson when I think about the group stage of FIFA games, and that's structure gives confidence. So yes, I give a lot of rap for the coach already on how I think he really flopped that game at Turkey. But let's look at something that he did that I think was a good thing that he did. And that was build structure around their offense. So I'm not a big soccer guy. You might not be too, but they do have several players in the field. But they incorporated this Pentagon structure. So there's 5 main players that they have. They have 1 at top, 2 on the sides, and 2 in the rear. So they have Balogun as a striker on the top. They have Pulisic on the left, McKinney on the right, Tillman and Adams are in the rear. And they have this formation. And they really focus on this formation for a lot of movement. And in their game against Paraguay, they ended up winning 4-1. And that was the most goals ever by Team USA in any World Cup stage group. It was a big deal. They had 65% of the time they had possession of the ball. They had 175 passes in the attacking third compared to Paraguay had 25. 25 versus 175. That's 7 times many attacking passes. And to quote the coach, he said, when players arrive into the national team, they need to know exactly what they need to do. Okay. It wasn't, I hope they understand or I hope they believe in the system. It was, they need to know exactly what they need to do. And that is a big leadership for us, okay? Confidence is not just vibes. Confidence is structure. I have structure. I coach confidence under pressure. I have a structure to help that with my clients, with the people that I work with, okay? When people know what's expected of them, when they know where they fit, when they know how the systems work, it's easier to execute under pressure. Yes, the military has a lot of structure. In the Marine Corps, we have a lot of structure, but it gives us so much confidence because we know what's expected of us and we know what's expected of everyone around us. And that gives us so much confidence. We're not solo operators, okay? We're in units filled with leadership and structure, and it makes us lethal. That's the application here. Clear roles, clear responsibilities, clear decision rights. It helps with performance under pressure. And let's go to the fourth lesson here that we can look at the group stages for FIFA. And that is prepare everyone. Everyone's important. I always say, if you're part of the team, you're part of the team for a reason. We saw with the Knicks how important they were, especially like Alvarez at the end of the NBA Finals to beat the Spurs, how key he was to give Brunson some rest. And at the very end, they put them both on the floor at the same time, and some magic happened for the New York Knicks. When we look at FIFA, the group stages, 43 goals were scored by substitutes. Think about that, 43 goals. Okay, Germany had Dennis Undav. He did very well. Brazil, Gabriel Martinelli. He did very well. Morocco, a lot of their scoring coming from the bench. Okay, this isn't flukes, right? These are game-changing situations when fresh legs can come in. And the idea here is that championship teams shouldn't only focus on their stars, okay? You got to focus on everyone. Everyone must be prepared. Everyone must have equal attention. Yes, everyone's in the room and scouting reports. Everyone goes through practices, but prepare everyone, okay? Not just the stars, not just the starters, okay? Treat everyone like they are starters and treat everyone like they're the person that can win, make that winning goal. And now we're going to go on to our fifth lesson when we look at the group knockout stages. And when I think about this, I got to think of Scotland. Man, we're going to call out Scotland right now. And the lesson is here is leave with no regrets. When it comes to effort, leave with no regrets. Okay. What happened to Scotland? Well, they were in this limbo phase. Why? Because their last game was against Brazil. They lost 3-0, and they could make the knockout rounds, but they had to wait on other people to figure it out. It was like if X team beats Y team by Z goals, and then Scotland advances, and if not, they don't get in. And they had to wait for 3 days in limbo to see if they would advance. It was torture. All right, goalkeeper Gunn said, we'll be watching, we'll be praying. Manager Clark said, for sure, I think we're going home. But midfield McLean said something very clear that's very interesting. He said, we're relying now on other people. And this is not a nice place to be in anything you do in life. And I tell you what, he is absolutely correct. It is not nice having to wait on other people when you didn't put out. When it started with you, and you gave your power to someone else, and I have to wait for someone else. We talk about controlling the controllables. You can control your effort and your attitude. You can't control the outcome of other people. You can't even control your outcome, but you can control your effort and your attitude and how you show up. And Scotland did not do well. Okay? This is a lot of pressure just waiting. Now you're watching for someone else to decide whether you get it. You can't control it. You can only watch. And I'll tell you, I had this recent experience myself. My high school basketball team, we had a lot of injuries. My best player was hurt 65% of the games. We had to do a last-minute 3-team mini tournament for the last playoff spot, and I arrived there, and both other teams had their whole roster, all their best players on there, and I did not. My best player was rolling on his foot, his knee thing. He was injured, couldn't play, and I had 3 seniors. All 3 of them were hurt during the game, and so my team was led by sophomores and juniors. And we overperformed. Our effort was tremendous. The strategy, the adjustments I had to make as a head coach, we really fought. We won 1 game barely, and we lost another game by 2 points. We missed a half-court shot barely, hit the rim, went out, and then we had to wait and watch for the 3rd game to happen. And as I watched that game, I could slowly see that the team we beat was destroying the team we had barely lost because they were so tired because we worked back-to-back games all together in one evening. I had to sit there and watch and realize we weren't going to make the playoffs. But I realized as I was self-observing myself how proud of my team I was because we had absolutely overperformed. Both teams, our other 2 opponents showed up with everyone, and we were injured. We were hurt. I did not have my whole team. I did not have my best players being able to play. I had to rely on younger players who had to take a step above and play their hearts out and compete. We should have been nowhere even close. We should have lost both games by 15. We won one by 3, and we lost the other by 2. We were by far the best performing team there. We just didn't have all the pieces. And I felt so proud of my team. And if I go back to Scotland, they're the other way around. Okay, New York Times called Scotland the greatest disappointment and underachieving team in FIFA so far in the group stages. Because we expected them to do great things to at least get in the knockout. They're supposed to have all the talent. But they didn't put out, all right? They didn't put out. They didn't control the controllables when it came to their effort. They had to wait. And spoiler alert, in case you don't know, they didn't get in, okay? So that's the challenge of having to wait for someone else. But again, my story, I felt proud of my team. And with Scotland, they're leaving with a lot of shame. So that leads us to our 5 big takeaways for this episode of Be a Leader podcast. For those watching the video, I got here my white college basketball whiteboard. And here's the last 5 takeaways. So the first one, it's not over till it's over. Okay, it is so easy to drop your pack at the very end of the game because you're tired. Not until the last whistle is called. Not until it's over. Okay, don't be like Team USA losing to Turkey and the 98th minute of a 98-minute match. Okay, go till the end. The second one, identity is greater than resources. You might not have all the resources, but you have a very strong identity. And as I talk about my IBR, identity, behavior, results, very strong identity and behaviors that match that identity, the results will take care of themselves. And that's why it always starts with that identity, does not start with your resources. But just quickly, I'm recapping the Spider-Man movies before the new Spider-Man comes out. And there's that clip where Iron Man takes Spider-Man's suit, and Spider-Man's like, I'm nothing without my suit. And Iron Man says, well, if you're nothing without your suit, then you don't deserve the suit. because he's talking about it's not about your resources, it's about your identity. So if whatever 16-year-old Peter Parker can learn that, we can learn that as well. Third one, structure gives confidence. Team USA had that specific formation, a Pentagon formation, so everyone knew exactly what the roles were, and they credited that structure to help them score the most goals that Team USA has ever done in the group stage. Structure does give confidence, right? And that's what we can learn from that. Fourth, prepare everyone. You don't know who's going to make that winning tip like Anunoby in the NBA Finals or get a last-second goal to either tie or win the game. You don't know. Prepare everyone. The top of my pyramid for leadership principles is value every person every day, because you just don't know when you're going to have to rely on them, and they need to feel valued like they have, like they are the ones that can win the game for you. Okay? And the fifth one, no regrets. When it comes to effort, you cannot have regrets. Okay, put everything in the line, give your best opportunity, and let the outcome, it'll take care of itself. But don't be like Scotland, who held back and at the last moment started to panic and then didn't even get in because they had to wait and rely on other people to win and lose and all these goals. Control the controllables. So anyways, that is it for this episode of Be a Leader podcast. I hope you enjoyed this, going over the group stage. Again, soccer at this level with FIFA is so exciting because there's so much passion. And now that we're going into the knockout rounds, it's just like college basketball. It is win or go home, and we're going to start seeing penalty kicks. We're going to see a lot of pressure. So there's going to be a lot to talk about here in this next 2 episodes at least. So I encourage you to come back and continue to watch this. Please share this with someone who would find benefit. Please like it or give it 5 stars. That helps spread the message out. And I'm curious, what are your biggest takeaways when it comes to FIFA so far? What are you looking forward to? And with that, thank you again for watching this episode of Be a Leader podcast. Remember, whether you're leading yourself, leading others, leading leaders, be a leader. My name is Daniel Pinedo. Thank you, and until next time.